Okay, so imagine you're an archaeologist for a second. You're digging through, the dust of a civilization, and you expect to find the usual things, pottery, maybe a few coins.
Right.
But instead, you find a manual, a literal user's guide written almost 1,000 years ago on how to rule a nation. And maybe more importantly, how to rule yourself.
And here's the kicker. The man who wrote this manual on how to, see the world, how to navigate power and morality, he was born blind,
That's the detail that just immediately grabbed me. We're doing a deep dive today into a 12th century masterpiece called Atebetul Hakayuk,
which means the threshold of truths.
the threshold of truths. I mean, it sounds like we're about to go on a quest, doesn't it? But this was a very real, very influential book from the Kurhanla period.
Yeah, that's roughly 840 to 1212. And this wasn't just some random point in history. You have to picture it
Yeah.
as a kind of cultural collision zone in Central Asia.
It's like tectonic plates shifting, right? You've got the old Turkic nomadic world grinding up against this rising tide of Islamic philosophy.
Exactly. And our author, Idabam Yukniki, is standing right in the middle of all that, trying to make sense of it.
So that's our mission today, a bit of cultural archaeology. We want to figure out how this blind poet wrote a mirror for princes that not only defined his time, but is also, well, it's startlingly relevant today.
Oh, it is. Human nature hasn't changed all that much. But to really get the weight of this book, you have to look at what came before it.
You're talking about the big one, the predecessor, Qutadgu Bilig.
Right. Wisdom of royal glory.
Uh-huh.
That was the benchmark. But if you read them side by side, this shift in tone it's just jarring.
My note's called Qutadgu Bilig, very national in character. It feels rooted in that pre-Islamic Turkic world. Very practical.
It is. It's about statecraft, how to run things.
Mhm.
But Atabetul Hakayak is the after picture. It's a pivot to a much more religious character. We're not just talking about how to run a kingdom anymore.
It's more like how to save your soul while running a kingdom.
That's a perfect way to put it. And you can actually see this change happening in the words themselves. This is the linguistic archaeology part I love.
Okay, so break that down. What are we seeing in the vocabulary?
Well, it's written in Haqqani Turkish, but the number of Arabic and Persian loanwords just skyrockets compared to the older stuff.
So Islamic culture wasn't just a layer on top anymore. It was getting into the bedrock of how people spoke and thought.
Precisely. And the author, Nidis Ahmed, is so intentional with it. He blends the forms. The introduction uses the Qasaid form.
That's the couplet style, the Abaka rhyme scheme.
Yes, the prestige format from Arabic and Persian literature. It's him saying, I'm educated, I belong in the high status world.
But then, for the actual advice, the core of the book,
He switches completely. He goes to quatrains, the four-line Mani style. It's the national Turkish folk poetry structure. It's the rhythm of the people.
that is fascinating. So he's using the foreign style to get in the door, but he's delivering the message in a way that feels like home.
He's code switching. He's showing his audience. We can be both. We can have this new faith, but we can speak it in our own voice.
And he wasn't just writing this for anybody. He had a specific person in mind, didn't he?
He did. It's dedicated to the great emir, Muhammad Dad Askisiler Beg.
Which gets us to this whole genre, the mirror for princes. I've always found this idea so interesting. It's presented as a gift, but it feels a bit like a Trojan horse.
That's a great way to put it. On the surface, it's praise. It's flattering. But in reality, it's an instruction manual on how to be a moral person.
And the praise is almost a trap. He calls the emir a source of intellect and virtue, but he's really giving him a job description.
Oh, absolutely. He's saying, you better be the source of virtue because I'm putting it in writing and everyone's going to read it.
It's like telling a kid, you're such a good helper right before you ask them to clean their room.
Exactly. You box the ruler in with their own supposed virtues. And he uses this beautiful metaphor for the book itself. He calls it a balik.
A balik, I saw that. It's a wedding gift, isn't it?
Yeah, a token to establish a bond of love and memory. He's not just a subject handing over a report. He's creating an intimate connection.
And he's also being pretty direct. He's saying this book will make sure the emir's name and his own survived death. He's trading immortality for the emir's attention.
It's the only real currency a poet has to offer a prince, isn't it?
So let's get into the advice itself. The central philosophy is summed up as the bone and the marrow.
This is the core analogy. He's talking about billig knowledge or wisdom. He says knowledge is to a human what marrow is to the bone.
That's such a visceral image. A person without knowledge isn't just ignorant, they're hollow, structurally unsound.
A bone without marrow. Empty.
Hmm.
Worthless. He says knowledge is the only path to real happiness, to sa'adet. And he even redefines what it means to be alive or dead.
Right. The ignorant person is dead. Even while they're walking around, they're just a shell.
A zombie, essentially. But the scholar, the person with Billig, they're alive long after they die because their wisdom keeps working in the world.
And there's a comparison he makes about gender here that really, it really stopped me in my tracks. It's so provocative for the 12th century.
I think I know the one. A knowledgeable woman is a man in terms of worth, and an ignorant man is female.
Now, obviously, we have to be careful here. Using female as a synonym for lesser
Yeah.
is, deeply sexist by today's standards.
No, absolutely. It reflects the prejudices of his time. But if you look at it in the context of the 1100s, this is actually kind of radical.
I guess so.
He's saying biology is secondary to intellect. In a world where being a man was the ultimate standard, he's arguing that a woman with knowledge rises to the highest status, and a man without it falls to the lowest.
He's putting the mind above the body. Your worth isn't your gender, it's what's in your head.
That is the key. And he even backs it up with the hadith. Seek knowledge, even if it is in China. Learning isn't just a good idea. It's a divine command.
So if knowledge is the marrow, what's the enemy? What destroys us? According to the text, the biggest threat is, well, it's right under our nose.
Literally, he calls it the teeth breaker. This section on speech is some of the most vivid writing in the book.
Keep your tongue tight so your teeth don't get broken. It's so violent. It implies that if your tongue escapes, the consequences will come back and smash the gate.
It's the 12th century version of loose lips sink ships, but much more personal. He says the head of manners is guarding the tongue, and he calls empty talk an enemy you can never defeat.
That's so true. Once the words are out there, you can't get them back. You can't conquer them. They conquer you.
Right, and he uses these amazing food metaphors. He says truth is honey, but lies are onions.
And he asks, why eat onions and make your mouth bitter when you can eat honey?
It's brilliant. He frames lying not just as a moral failure, but as just bad taste, an ugly choice. Why pick the thing that leaves a foul aftertaste and makes people back away from you?
And he says it's life and death. A man's death is between his two jaws. One wrong word in that courtly society could mean social ruin or worse. Now, given that he's writing for an emir, you'd think he would paint a pretty rosy picture of the world. But he actually gets quite critical.
He really does. The book becomes a critique of the moral decay he sees around him. He calls the world a dungeon.
A dungeon. Wow. What was he so upset about?
It's hypocrisy, mainly. He looks around and sees this huge gap between how people act and what they say. He writes, worship has become show. Or, mosques are ruined, but wine districts are flourishing.
So the symbols of piety are crumbling, but the party is still going strong.
Pretty much. He sees a society that's talking the new religious talk, but walking the old hedonistic walk. And he doesn't spare the intellectuals or the mystics either.
What's his issue with them?
He says scholars have abandoned practice, and he criticizes the mystics, the dervishes, for inventing dance. He sees these new rituals as a distraction, a loss of discipline.
And he laments the loss of vifa, of loyalty.
That's the big one. He asks, where is the faithful friend? And concludes that true loyalty has dried up like a lake.
That's a haunting image. It suggests loyalty used to be this abundant resource, and now it's just gone.
It is. And he sees this as a result of human weakness. We choose the onions over the honey. We choose the show over the substance.
So even if the world is a dungeon, you are still responsible for your own actions.
Precisely. You can't control the drought, but you can control your own tongue and cultivate your own marrow.
So if we want to be that ideal person by his standards, what do we need to do?
First, he says you have to strip off the rudder of arrogance.
I love that he calls it a robe, something you wear, not something you are.
Exactly. And you can take it off. Humility is a sign of true substance. Arrogance just isolates you. And then there's money. He treats being a miser as a disease, a sickness with no cure.
Whereas generosity cleanses you. It washes away your faults.
Right. And he brings back the hollow bone metaphor for greed. Chasing worldly goods just makes you empty. And then he hits you with the final reminder. The shroud is the only thing you take with you.
You can't put pockets in a shroud.
Nope. All that stuff stays behind. The only thing you take is your character, your billig.
So when you step back, a Tibatul Hakayak is really this threshold, this bridge between the old Turkic identity and this new incoming Islamic philosophy.
It really is. It sits right on that threshold, shaping how an entire culture would come to understand ethics, knowledge, and faith.
And it's just a miracle we even have it to read.
It really is. The manuscript survived in the Hagia Sophia Library. It's just incredible that the voice of this blind poet from 900 years ago can still speak to us.
He predicted it himself, didn't he? He said his body would rot, but his words would remain. And here we are.
Proving him right. He defined the ideal person as someone who controls their tongue and seeks knowledge. And that, I think, raises a pretty tough question for us today.
I think I know where you're going with this.
We live in the so-called information age. We have more data in our pockets than he saw in his lifetime. But do we have billig? Do we have wisdom?
Or are we just drowning in information? And in a world that runs on social media hot takes?
Exactly. Are we protecting our teeth? Or are our thumbs and tongues breaking them every single day?
It makes you think about the onions we're fed constantly. The algorithms are designed to feed us bitter conflict because that's what gets a reaction.
Edep Ahmed would look at our world and ask, "Why do you make your mouths so bitter?" He'd see so many hollow bones.
That is a tough question to sit with. Have we moved closer to his threshold of truths, or have we just built a louder, faster dungeon?
Maybe the real gift, the real bleak we can leave behind isn't a viral post. Maybe it's a legacy of actual wisdom.
A legacy of honey words instead of onion words.
That's the challenge, isn't it? To seek the marrow in a world that's just obsessed with the surface.
I am definitely going to try and remember that next time I'm scrolling. Don't eat the onion. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure. It's always worth looking back to see where we're going.
And thanks to you for listening to this deep dive into Atebetul Hakayek. Until next time, keep seeking the marrow.